Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It has been a little while since I've gotten together with this guy under sort of calm circumstances. He, of course, can be found on Thursdays from 3 until 5 with the former SSV on WNST, now the Dennis Koulatsos Show. And, of course, our sponsor, our friend, find him around here on Sunday mornings as well. And the Koulatsos Show out on Twitter as well. And the slow time, but it's not slow for you, man. I mean, well, the one thing I know about you, like the Combine's your favorite thing. So as much as the Super Bowl's cool and the season's cool and you love going out to the games, you love talking football with us in the show, the Combine was sort of like, that's the thing you've always loved the most out of sports, right?
Yeah, it's just a wonderful time of the year for me, for the Combine. It's a place where fortunes are made and lost. It's a place where jobs are won and lost, right? If you get it right, you can become a Hall of Fame executive, front office guy, and coach. You get it wrong, and you might become a color commentator on TV, right, as our friend Brian Billick likes to say. So, and you see guys rise up and fall, right? And they're not as explosive sometimes as we think they are, and they fail at certain drills. And, Nestor, the most amazing part for me is how a bad Combine can erase, 3 or 4 years of good tape.
Well, look at Orlando Brown. Let's start with him, right? I mean,
he's a perfect example.
And how
right?
that turned out, right? And also, if we want to go back, Laramie Tunsil and what happened to him versus Ronnie Stanley, and then they both get in the league. Tunsil's on his second team now, and Ronnie Stanley, and Luke and I have talked about this earlier this week. This is the offseason concern. You better lock him up, and he's going to be front of school. He's going to be a $20 million left tackle, right?
Yeah, and he should be. But again, those two players are perfect examples. One had a real bad look, right before the draft started. Right. In fact, the Ravens may have drafted him had that video come out with whatever he was doing. It was not a good look. Versus a guy in Ronnie Stanley who went to Notre Dame, good family, solid citizen. The game film was one that showed he was a dancing bear, wonderful feet, wonderful hands, and he has been a better pro than Laramie Tunsil has been thus far. Maybe not the physical specimen that Tunsil is, but he has performed at an all-pro level, and you bet he's going to get a big paycheck, and that's another pick that the Ravens got right. It wasn't as great as when he picked Jonathan Ogden over Lawrence Phillips, right? So the difference hasn't been that great because Phillips, of course, was a total bust and a murderer, but Ronnie Stanley due for a big payday, and again, if it wasn't for that video of Laramie Tunsil could have been our left tackle right now.
Dennis, for you, turning the attention here, off of the Ravens and Tony Jefferson, which was an obvious thing, and now we have this James Hurst thing. But I want to get a little baseball in with you because I don't do this much with you, and I know I get to rant and rave on your show on Thursday. Sometimes you wind me up. I think I do my best radio on your show on Thursdays, quite frankly, because I'm the guest, not the host. But for you on the baseball thing and where it is, forget the Orioles. I know how you feel about that. Forget, where Angelos is over 25 years. Even forgetting, and I have not forgotten this, spending the day on Sunday in Washington, D.C., home of the world champion Washington Nationals, of course. And even the Tony Fernandez thing over the weekend gave me a little thought about the history and where all this is going. But more than that, the integrity of Major League Baseball, watching these Astros players, watching these Dodgers players, watching Adam Jones sort of giggle from over in Japan and look at all of this, to see everyone with a voice around this about what integrity's about, what cheating's about, what championships are about, what leaderships are about. And I keep going back to these guys running the Orioles who got their stripes. If you made your stripes in a Ford Motor Company, getting some big promotion to Dearborn as the executive vice president or whatever, and you did that because Coons Ford led the nation in sales and whatever that is, and somehow, some way, it turned out that you had cooked your books, you wouldn't look like the next leader in the next place. You know what I mean? And I keep thinking about what this means for the Orioles, and I do think about the lease, and I think about the team and the future and all that stuff, but I do think about who was guilty, who's innocent, who's going to pay the price, much like I do with what goes on in our government, locally and nationally, that when you do the crime, where's the punishment for that? And Rob Manfred calling the trophy a piece of metal over the weekend, Boy, this is really, really an absence of leadership. And you and I talk about this all the time with how well the Ravens are led and where they are and how bad the Browns are and how bad the Orioles have been. But this is a Major League Baseball leadership issue with a sport that is wounded right now in lots and lots of ways. Unlike the NFL with the knee a couple of years ago, Dennis, baseball's not healthy to begin with other than on their books. Their books are healthy. Everything else about what's going on with them right now speaks of crisis to me. And they are horrific at crisis management right now and always have been.
They really are. You mentioned the NFL with the knee, and in sharp contrast, the NBA, their commissioner said, look, no one's taking a knee. We're going to figure this thing out. And you never heard anything, much to his credit, about the NBA. They addressed it. Nobody took a knee, and the league never took a hit. And today, based on their All-Star game results and their attendance, it's thriving. They're printing money, Nestor. They're making money hand over fist. And that's what happens when you have great leadership, when you have a great commissioner and Adam Silver at the top. Sharp contrast to Major League Baseball and the scandals that they've had through the years. And now we have Pete Rose in the news, and he says, look, if you're going to give the Astros a free pass, I should be in the Hall of Fame. So
can you imagine if Barry Bonds came out and barked every 6 months about the Hall of Fame? They would have this constant cacophony of cheaters, liars, scumbags bubbling back to the surface to say, those guys are a bigger scumbag than me, let me in, right? I'm glad Barry Bonds doesn't care and that Sammy Sosa, whatever he's done with his skin this week or next month or his collagen or whatever, I'm glad these guys go away. But Dennis, I'm looking out my window and there's baseball in our city and it was important, and I'm literally wondering out loud for everyone if it's ever going to be important again. That's what I yelled about Free the Birds in 2006 is it ever going to be important again? And they can't get their whole house right. I mean, it feels like the whole foundation of the industry and the sport beaten up on minor league baseball. You know what I mean? All of this. And I guarantee you the Players Association circling right now, right? Like for the next labor war and how this whole Astros thing's been handled. But I see these angry players and beanballs and these macho guys. Oh, my God. This is going to be terrible, I think.
Well, I'll tell you why it's going to be terrible because, you mentioned Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds. When those guys were juiced up and hitting the 3-run homer and the league loved it, that was the league-wide problem. That's when Faye Vincent and the owners turned a blind eye because they were selling tickets, right? Attendance was at a record sky high at that point. And so that was a league problem. The thing with the Astros, it's isolated to the Astros, and that's why it's critical that their leadership gets this thing right with punishment, because this is like the New England Patriots of the NFL, which is a whole other story that they have to address because now we have another scandal with the Patriots still lingering. They were caught filming the Bengals sideline. Let's not forget that this past season. They've had a culture of cheating in that organization ever since the day that Bill Belichick came into the building. This was going to be his last shot at doing something right after having failed with the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets prior to that. So he had to get it right. So they have this culture of cheating with the Patriots, and now it's just not a culture of cheating with the Astros. They've been caught red-handed. So I haven't seen any penalties. I've seen some lip service, but I haven't seen what action the league's going to take against this team. You mentioned Ford Motor Company and Coons Ford. Yes, we have standards. We have ethics. One of our things is to protect our investment, right? Do things the right way. You have to protect the shield. You have to do the right thing. So what's the league going to do, and what are the Houston Astros going to do? If I was the owner of the Astros, Nestor, I'd be embarrassed.
I'd
give the trophy back. I would give it back. It's a tainted trophy. I wouldn't want it.
Wasn't that unbelievable? Like, people say to me, these guys are all rich, right? And they've all become billionaires. They must be really smart, right? And I spend time at these owners' meetings and stuff, and about some issues like money and greed and financial development, they have incredible sense about that. Sometimes they have incredible sense about what customers want or how people can relate. But sometimes the emotional intelligence or the ability to know what a gallon of milk costs or a loaf of bread or, you know what I mean? Or just traversing regular places where there's not a security detail in front of them or behind them, you sort of lose touch, right? Like I would always say, I don't know how rock stars can continue to write songs when they isolate themselves from the world, right? You write your best songs when you're down in the street, right? And the Crane thing, look, about all these owners, right? Whether it was that goof that owned the Clippers, right? Or whether it's Mark Cuban sometimes who's out there, or George Steinbrenner, or Charlie Finley who was always out there, or Jerry Jones who's bigger, or Al Davis who was weird. Some of these guys are introverted sort of weenies like Stan Kroenke, and some folks are immigrants that built themselves up from nothing, and Steve Bisciotti lost his father and built a company. They all have things about them, but the emotional intelligence displayed in some cases, and the Crane thing was just watching this guy, it's almost like this is why the PR directors don't let the owners out to meet with fans, because the longer the light's on them, the longer it can go until you find out they're a billionaire who's really out of touch with even what integrity is. And I don't even want to get into the federal government and into the senators, and into what facts are, and we're going to hide facts and all of that. But this Astros thing, and you said something really interesting, Dennis. You said something about 8 minutes ago. You said this is isolated to the Astros. And I tell you what, I don't know. You know what I mean? I know
it. For the moment it is anyway. For the moment, look, are other teams cheating? To this extent, though, it's pretty egregious. And Nestor, I'm reading a book right now called Principles by Ray Diallo. And
whoa! If you're reading the book, I got to put this on my list. Go ahead. I got to stop everything when I get a book recommendation.
It's called Principles by Ray Diallo. And you know what? We have to have principles. So no matter if you're a billionaire or you're making a minimum wage, you can feed your brain, you can feed your mind, you can stay in touch with certain things, such as your principles, such as your ethics, because those are like lighthouses in the ocean. They're immovable objects, right? They're a beacon of light, and if you have that foundation in how you run your business, any business, whether it's WNST, Coos Ford, the Houston Astros, the Baltimore Ravens, or what have you, if you have some strong principles and ethics and you're not willing to compromise those principles and ethics, look, I always tell my guys, never cheat. Do the right thing. Never lie, right? Don't lie, because cowards lie. And for me, I've been selling truth for 33 years. Truth is the easiest thing to sell. When somebody tells you something, Nestor, what do you say? Tell me the truth, right? Let me know where I am. Tell me where I stand, so that way I can take the appropriate action. So it's just that.
And if we don't have that, we don't have anything. I mean, and this is one of the issues I have with government and with leaders locally, federally. When you lie to me once, let alone sit there and lie every single day, multiple times a day, this isn't a left or right issue. It's not democratic it's where we stand as a society and whether I am going to subscribe to your channel. And we talk about the cancel culture and all of that stuff. I really do have a strong cancel culture about me. I'm not proud of that, but if I can't trust you, there are 4 billion people on this planet. I'll find a Dennis Koulatsos and a Peter DeLutis that I can ride on a bus with. Because I don't want to ride on a bus with people, with liars and cheaters and scoundrels. That's just not the way I roll. And this is why I haven't supported baseball to begin with, because I think the guy that owns the baseball team here has lied over and over and over again. And, I've been castigated for that over 25 years on the radio. I don't think there's been any question about how honest I've been versus how dishonest they've been. And now we're at the heart of the entire deal here, right? Are you lying? Are you telling me the truth? Are you cheating? And at whose cost and at whose benefit, right?
Let me ask you this. If this were the Orioles and we just won the World Series and this scandal was on us, how would you feel?
I'm having John McClain on this week. I'm chasing down Matt Bryan down in Houston because I do want to talk. I mean, John McClain, my dear friend, he loves baseball, even though he's covered Houston football, National Football League, Hall of Fame writer, Hall of Fame vote. but he loves baseball, and he's loved the Astros his whole life. I mean, he cried. I mean, I've had John on the last 5 years since the Astros got good, and I've been having John on my whole career. He covered the Houston Oilers. He was my guy. But he loves the Astros. My cousin lives down in Houston. Her last name's Aparicio, by the way. She's in the family. She lives in Katy, Texas. She and her girlfriend, her wife actually, they go to games. They wear their stuff. They got scalped for tickets. I saw them get scalped for tickets 3 months ago. They're in the upper deck. They paid their $150 to sit on the roof to go to the Astros. They loved it. They were with me with Dan Pastorini when we swapped down there. At the stadium. So, I mean, I have friends that are into it. I haven't talked to them, but I'm wondering, right? Like, I'll tell you this. It didn't matter to any of the Patriots fans that they had monkeys in the trees with video cameras, right?
That's terrible. That's terrible.
You know, and it wouldn't matter to you if you were a John Calipari fan at Kentucky, whatever he was doing, right? Or whatever Rick Pitino's doing, or whatever Huggy's doing, or, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And, I don't know, man. I have been cheated for long stretches of my life. I have dealt with scoundrels and liars, and you and I are from East Baltimore. We saw them, and part of our success in life is ratting them out and not being a part of them. You know what I mean? Like saying we do not want to be a part of that dishonesty. And as I get older, I have less tolerance for Sheila Dixon stealing gift cards, for Catherine Pugh asking for leniency, for suppressing evidence at the highest courts in our land. And then I go to baseball, and they're just trying to get away with it, and trying to get away with it and making it go away. And this really does speak to Roger Goodell, right? Like for football a couple years ago, how difficult it is to be the judge, the policeman, the jury, the business partner. Like, that's what we're asking a commissioner to be, right? And Rob Manfred has a tough job, but he's not doing it well.
No, not at all. But leadership starts at the top, and you've touched on multiple points, Nestor. And look, it's leadership. It's not for everybody. You got to have a backbone, and you got to stand for something, and or you'll fall for everything, right? Isn't that the old adage?
Well, you got me in Ray Dalio, Dalio, principles and a lot more.
Principles.
My goodness,
the first 75 to 100 pages are kind of slow, but once you get past that, there's some good guidelines in there. And you know what? The Houston Astros ownership, when the commissioner of baseball, and the Orioles and the Patriots leadership should read that book. And it's I'm on my second time through it. I'm trying to fully digest it, but it's a lot of great stuff. And look, principles, they don't change. And if you don't have them, what do you have? Who are you as a human being? And I'm like you, Nestor. As I get older, my circle gets smaller, it gets tighter. There's less and less people in it. It's just the way it is.
Rather than thinking I'm right, I started to ask myself, how do I know I'm right?
Right. How do you know? How do you know you're right?
Ray Dalio. Hey, next week we're going to talk about Ray. Man, I got to get Ray Dalio on the show here. We got to talk about this kind of stuff.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'm sure he would love to. Look, he's trying to help everybody out. He's made a lot of money doing things a certain way and by being disciplined and following a certain track. And it's a good read. I'm like you. I'm a voracious reader. I love to feed my mind. I don't know everything. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, we're in trouble.
It says here, right here, Tony Robbins says, I found it to be truly extraordinary. Okay? So, I'm reading all of the Mark Cuban, Principles is the book I wish I had as a young entrepreneur.
There you go.
Beautifully written and filled with such wisdom from Ariana Huffington, who we both, Mike Bloomberg, presidential candidate. Everyone with goals and dreams can learn from Ray. So I'm doing a Ray Dalio thing here, but this is... Yep. You know who needs this?
Bloomberg should actually read the book. It's one thing to have a book, a whole other thing to read it, right? You can have a book collection, but again, when things come up, things that people say during their lifetime, public figures, they come back and bite them.
Well, I just hope that if your name's on the book, you actually wrote it. Right. I often worry about that.
That's exactly right. So he actually wrote this book, and the accolades are well deserved.
Well, I'll tell you what, the accolades for Coons Florida Security Boulevard and the Thursday edition of the Sunday Sports Voice from 3 until 5 with Dennis. Dennis, have a great week here. Happy Presidents to you, and onward and upward toward, let's see here, Combines. Oh, man, I didn't even mention the Terps. Anything you want to say about the Terps?
Look, a heck of anytime you beat a Tom Izzo team on their home court, it's a wonderful victory, right? It looks like the team is maturing. They're playing well together. Point guard Cowan is playing out of his mind. Sticks, Jalen Smith is doing just a wonderful, wonderful job. Look, it's our state, it's our state team, right? The University of Maryland. Lots of great stuff, and right now looks like they'll be the number 2 seed in the tournament if things hold. Uncharted territory for Mark Turgeon and company.
I got a really important question to ask you. This would tell me a lot about you. This is off topic, but it goes back to Ray Dalio and Principles and Don Moeller. If I borrowed your copy of Principles, if you lent it to me, would it be highlighted or would it not be? I'm just asking. Do you highlight your books or do you not?
Well, I'm gonna be a little difficult here. There's two parts to this. First of all, I wouldn't give it to you because you never give something unless you're willing to part with it. So I would buy your own copy. The second thing is
you're an e-reader.
Because I value it that much. The second thing is you won't want my book because I do have it highlighted. I like to highlight things. And
see, that's exactly why I want it then. That's why I wanted to. If you highlighted, I was afraid you were going to say I read on a Kindle.
No. I can't. I've tried to read on a Kindle. I have a Kindle collecting dust. I've tried to, I can't do it. I like books. I like paper. I'm calling me old school, and I grew up on the News American and also the Baltimore Sun, and a voracious reader. But I need paper. I need to highlight. I need to dog-ear pages. I need to put my bookmarks in there.
I'm holding up Martin O'Malley's Smarter Government. It's like a gigantic textbook. It's on my desk here. I've been fingering through that, just getting some thoughts. So, yeah, man, we're working at getting better around here, just like you are out at Coons Florida Security Boulevard. We will see you on Thursday. It's been a couple of weeks, but this was a good segment here. We got deeper. We dug below the surface on this one.
We did. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You got it. Principles. There you go. Integrity. Coons Florida Security Boulevard, Dennis Koulatsos joining us here. Hopefully we've stood for that for 21 and a half, 22 years now here at W. Has it been that long? Has it really? It'll be 22 years in July? Where has the time gone? It's crazy. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube, WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking integrity, passion, and Baltimore sports.